Hello class members. I wanted to do a quick video based on a question that was asked by a class member, and that was, could I show how to voice like 3 or 4 horns, in this case it'll be 4 horns, with extensions in the melody. In other words, sharp 9s, flat 5s, 9ths, 13ths, sharp 11s, things like that. So that's what I'm going to do on this lesson. And what I'll do is I'll use the example of 4 horns because writing for smaller groups really does help get your big band writing in shape too. It also, the notes that I write here and the examples that I write, you could certainly use for 4 horns, which I'll do, but you could also use them for 4 saxes or possibly 2 trumpets and 2 trombones. So you can think of them as voicings for 4 instruments, not necessarily what I'm going to do here with trumpet, alto sax, tenor sax, and trombone. That is a typical 4-horn ensemble, one that works quite well because of the sonorities of all the instruments. So anyway, what I'll do is, at the bottom of the page, you can certainly print out the examples that I wrote out. I won't do that many here, but I'll give you some examples from the sheet that you can download. But let's just start off. One of the things he wanted to know was major 7th. So let's take, for example, C major 7. Okay, now remember, when we do major 7th, we can infer there would be a 9th in there if we wanted it. So first off, you're going to have the melody note, which would be the first trumpet or the trumpet. That would be the major 7th of a C major 7 chord. And if you get anything from this video, it is, remember that 3rds and 7ths are very important, especially in dominant 7th chords. Now this is a major 7th chord, and there's 2 things that I do. I always remember the 3rd and 7th. I try to get the voices so they're not too far apart, so that they sound good on the piano. Usually if they ring well on the piano, they'll probably sound pretty good on the with the instruments. That's why, getting some kind of piano chops is probably, even if just to be able to play these chords is definitely recommended. So we have the major 7th, that'd be trumpet. So let's get the 3rd in there. And for our purposes, we could use the 7th. However, another thing that I like to do with these kinds of chords is voice them in fourths as much as I can. So what we could do is come down, let's see. Okay, I'm going to undo that for a second here, because the C major 7ths, the 7ths are a little different in that the 3rd and 7th is not as important. So what I'll try to do is get a nice sounding chord, and generally I'll try to work these major 7th chords into fourths or maybe a 3rd with fourths on the bottom or something like that. So let's try that. And what the fourths do is they give you a real open sound. You only got 4 instruments here, so you want to have as full a sound as possible. So let's just build down. The next note in that chord would be G. Okay, sorry. Well, let me try that again. Okay, G. Now down a 4th from there would be the 9th, and that works well. And down a 4th from D would be A, and that actually is the 6th. So we have this particular voicing for C major 7. Okay, if you had a C in the bass, let me try to. Okay, now that is a pretty hip C major 7 voicing. You have the major 7th in the top, but you also have the 6th and the 9th there as well. The 5th is what starts off the 4ths. Okay, let's try a different one. Let me think. That might be one that I would do. But we could voice it in another way here. Let's try it again. Let me think a minute. Okay, you could potentially do this as well. So nothing's written in stone as long as they sound good and the basic elements are there. Okay, I'm going to put the third there and I'll put the seventh. Actually, we got the seventh, so I could put I suppose I could put the ninth there. You want to shy away from roots. You notice I've been doing this for 25 years. I still have to think about it. Anyway, okay, so we have the seventh, the third, the sixth, and the ninth. And that works just as well. So the fifth could be expendable. We get rid of it there. We put the third in. So those are a couple of possible voicings. I would probably go with this one. I don't know why. I guess I'm just used to writing that kind of structure there. Anyway, let's go on. Let's put the ninth up here. So we would have a C major 9. Okay. The ninth. Remember, thirds are important and sevenths are important. So let's see if we can build this down in fourths. Certainly we could put that there. That would be the sixth. Or the 13th, I guess you could say. Down a fourth would be the third, so that works well. And down another fourth is actually the seventh. So that is a good voicing because you do have the third and the seventh. Like I said, these major chords, these tonic type of chords, not as important to have the third and seventh like it is in a dominant seventh chord. I'll get to that in a minute. So here's the sound of the chord. Okay, so with 4 horn players, that sounds pretty good. The fourths really do expand the chord. Something about them that makes it sound fuller than it maybe actually is. Okay, let's undo some of this stuff. Let's go on to dominant seventh chords. Now, dominant seventh chords, remember, are seventh chords, and we can have extensions and so on. We have that minor seventh in those. So let's take, for example, how about, let's see, how about C augmented 7, sharp 9. Okay, so in this case, since the question he asked was alterations in the melody, so let's put the sharp 9 in the melody. It would be D sharp. Okay, we do have the augmented part of the triad. It'd be nice to have that in there because that tells us a lot about what the chord should sound like. We do have the sharp 9, but I'd like to, in the beginning, if you're new to this, fill in the root, or I mean the third and seventh right away. Now obviously the melody is the top note. So we have to put the third below, and let's come down to the seventh. The seventh is not as good there because we want to spread this out a little bit and get a nice spread for a voicing. Seventh would be B flat. The only thing we have left is the sharp 5, and that's right there. So now we have everything in this chord to make it sound like what it says it should. C augmented 7, sharp 9, and here's the sound of it. And there's the bass. Okay, so that worked great. So you see how we put the melody note there. Then we went to the 2 very important notes, are the third and seventh. Okay, let's do one more. Let's see if I can find another. Okay, well let's do C7 flat 9. Now on the sheet you can download, there are other keys and stuff and some minor 7 flat 5s and stuff. I'll do a couple more and we'll wrap this one up. Okay, let's put the flat 9 there. What's important? Third and seventh. Remember, this is a dominant chord. Okay, now we have another note that could go in here. Could do the fifth. Could do the root there, I suppose. But those wouldn't be as good as How about the 13th? So remember that a C7 flat 9, you can add potentially you could add sharp 11s and 13ths. In this particular chord, I would probably just change it to a C13 flat 9 in this particular voicing, because it lends itself so well to have the 13th right there. Okay, obviously that would probably resolve to some kind of F major or whatever. Okay, let's do one or so more here. Those are some dominant 7th chords. How about the minor 7 flat 5 chords? Now these are kind of interesting because the root of these chords works pretty well, and I'll do that a lot. I'll put the root in these voicings as well. I'm not sure why the root sounds okay and actually sounds better in most instances in these flat 5 chords. So let's take a G minor 7 flat 5. So remember the correct question was, how do you voice chords with the alteration in the melody? So let's put the flat 5 there. Okay. Now, the thirds and sevenths are important, but like I said, in these 4-note chords, I'll often use the root as well. I think it just helps to give the chord that sound of a minor 7 flat 5 chord. But I won't do roots in those other ones, as you saw from just a minute ago. So let's take the third, put it there. Seventh right there. Now, we could put the root down here, I suppose. A little lopsided in the voicing because you have a smaller interval there. But what we could do is take the root, put it right there. And here's how that chord sounds. Let me put the root in the bass here. Okay. Let's move the G down and just see how it sounds. I guess that would work too. I kind of like that right in the middle of the chord, but a lot of this stuff, you know, is just how you hear it. And a lot of times I'll just sit at the piano and play voicing after voicing until it just feels right. Feels like it should go there. Okay, I think that's about it. I think maybe we could do just one more here. Let me take this one, G. Let's put a sharp 11 in the melody. How about G major 9 sharp 11? Now really, the only way to really get good at this is just to write charts and just to do it over and over again, just like anything else. And even after you write a lot of them, you still might have some trouble with certain situations or whatever. Okay, so here's the sharp 11. Okay, remember, you still want, if you can, get the 3rd and 7th in there. Let's see if that works here. G major 9. Oh, you know, I wrote that wrong. Should be just G9 sharp 11. Sorry about that. Okay. G9 sharp 11. So this is a dominant chord. I wanted to make it a dominant chord. Sorry about that. Okay, so C sharp is still the sharp 11. Okay, so we want 3rd and 7th. The 7th is an F, so we can put an F there or an F there, depending on who wants to play that. Let's try that one. There's probably a couple different options for this one. 3rd would not go a step away from the melody. That kind of clutters it up a little bit. We'll put the 3rd down here. And now we need the 9th if we can get it in there. The 9th would probably not go down there because that's too low. Below the 3rd, no good. You want this tritone to really sound. So I would imagine we would put it there. Okay, let's see what that sounds like. Okay, would work fine. But we also could probably put the F there, put the 7th there, the 3rd there, the 9th there, and then the melody as well. So that would be kind of your choice of how you want to do that one. Certainly trombone can play a B and it can play an F. I guess if I had to choose, I might choose this one. It just depends on how the chart is going, what's going on before or after, so on and so forth. Because this, it doesn't have to be whole notes. It could be quarters or even eighth notes as well. Okay, so here are the tips. The tips are 3rds and 7ths are important, very important. Now you can have a triad. You could have a triad that reflects the upper extensions, and that's not wrong. However, I always try to go with that rule of if they had to play by themselves, would they give the information to the listener to reflect what's supposed to be going on, which would be the chord. So 3rds and 7ths are important. And also, when you can use 4ths in your voicings, do so. So if you can get 3rds and 7ths, obviously this would be a tritone in a dominant 7th situation. So it's not really a 4th per se, not a perfect 4th. But you could put 4ths above that, as we did in one of the examples. But if you can get them all in 4ths, as I did in the major 7th, that would be good too. So 4ths equals good, especially in smaller groups, because the 4ths tend to really make the voicings sound more full. So I hope you got something out of this video, and we'll just catch you soon on another one. Take care.